Hi guys, Shelly and I here.
Hello.
We're making our bigger, smaller video for you guys so that you can see how to teach this lesson. We're sorry it's a day late, but I'm pretty sure that everybody's okay with that because I've got videos for lessons 10, 11, and 12 already set up, so hopefully you guys can see that everything is all done that way. We're talking about bigger and smaller today. So first off, Shelly represents our student again, and so what I'm going to show you is how I would teach her first what is bigger and smaller out of these two items, okay? And then we'll go on and do two more sets of items. All right, Shelly, which one do you think is bigger? Okay, so at first I'm just asking them if they already know what bigger or smaller is, because that way I can assess whether or not they know the difference. And if they already know the difference, then there's no reason for us to go on teaching the lesson. But since she chose the smaller, then we're going to go ahead and teach this so that she can understand the difference. So Shelly, this is bigger. You see how it is heavier? Okay. And this is smaller. It's lighter. You can put almost your whole hand around that. See? She can hold it on her own. She might not grasp it for very long, but she can still at least hold it on her own for a few minutes. Try to make sure that they don't take it and try and stick it in their mouth, which is something that our students sometimes like to do. Let's go this way for a little bit so that we can see better. Okay, so first off, I'm going to tell her, I've told her which one's smaller, which one's bigger. It doesn't take a lot of time to do that. The reason why is because I just have two objects in front of her. I don't want to put a whole bunch of objects in front of my students because I don't want to confuse them. However, if the student already understands what bigger or smaller is, then you can move to something that's a little bit more challenging. Like, these are both smaller compared to our big bottle of water, but compared to each other, this one's smaller and this one's bigger. Okay? We want to make sure we stick with the same words. Bigger, smaller. Okay, so we're going to save those for later. And this is our other example of bigger and smaller. We have a bigger book and a smaller book. They're both books. You can open them up and there's pages in them. Okay. But this one is smaller. You can lay it on top of there and actually see that it's smaller as compared to this. Okay? So, after I've shown Shelly, and I've showed her a couple of times, this one's bigger. Let her try and hold it. This one's smaller. Okay? Then I'm just going to move them into different places, try and challenge her, and ask her, Shelly, which object is bigger? Okay, so she picked that up pretty quickly. In real life, I would probably ask her the question, Shelly, which one of these objects is bigger? And she might just be kind of looking at me like, and looking at the two objects, like I might show her like this and see if she can look at the one, because sometimes our students aren't able to really grab. So I'll say, which one's bigger? And her eyes will follow what she thinks. Right now she thinks this is the bigger one. So I still need to teach. So here I say, well, Shelly, that's a choice. You made a choice. Thank you. This is smaller. This is bigger. This is bigger. So she might not even grab it. I might just have her touch it. This is bigger, okay? So we've tried these two things. And we might want to try something else. Okay, Shelley, I have two books. This one's bigger, and I might drop the other book totally away. This one's bigger. This one is smaller. Smaller. Bigger book. Smaller book. This is a bigger book. And this is a smaller book. Because sometimes we have to actually have them interact with that maybe up to 10 times until they understand the difference between the two. So, and because it takes a little time to process that. So let's say that we've done that 10 times, and now I'm going to ask Shelley to tell me, either looking with her eyes or touching with her hand, to show me the smaller book. Okay, Shelley, which one of these books is smaller? Okay, she's looking at the smaller book. When I pulled them apart like this, her eyes followed the smaller book. And when she does that, I'm going to say, yes, Shelley, this is the smaller book. It's smaller, okay? And then I would put that book down and I'd say, where's the bigger book? And she's looking right at it because she can tell. So then we say, yeah, that's the bigger book, and congratulate them. Make sure they understand that you know that they made the choice and they answered the question. So then if they still don't get it and they keep looking at the incorrect book, it's okay to stop and say, okay, Shelley, that was a choice. That was a good choice. You tried really hard. This is the smaller book, okay? This is the bigger book, okay? So you want to make sure that you're really clear with them. And it may take me a month or more to get a student to understand the difference between the two books. I will use the same books when I teach this when I continue to teach this concept. And once we start teaching this concept, then we continue on doing that every day. We don't stop and forget that we are teaching bigger, smaller. Because if we just teach it one day and then they disappear from the students' consciousness, they can't see it anymore, then we've just wasted their time and our own. Okay, we're going to try one more. Now this one's a little bit harder. Okay, so I'm going to say, Shelley, this is bigger, but it's only bigger comparative to this. This is smaller, and this is bigger. But this would be a good starting place for a student who already understands bigger, smaller in the context of this, okay? Or even in the context of this. If they understand that this is smaller and this is much bigger, then we want to move them on to something that's a little bit harder and a little more abstract to understand. So at first I'm going to show Shelley which one's bigger. Shelley, this is bigger. Bigger. Okay. This one is smaller. And we always present it up here in front of their face because our students don't really look down. And sometimes when they look down, their vision is obstructed and they can't even see the objects. Okay, so this is smaller. And I might say, okay, this is smaller, and have her look with her eyes. Okay, and this is bigger. And she's following it with her eyes, which is excellent. Okay, then after doing that, then I would try it with her and just to see if she can tell the difference. They're both white. I might want to choose something that's a different color. But this is going to be difficult for her to be able to do. Okay? Okay, Shelley, can you tell me which object is bigger. Okay, so she made the mistake. She made a mistake and she chose this one. However, I'm not going to say, you made a mistake. Dang it, kid, why can't you get it? I'm not going to do that to her. I never do that to our students because that makes them feel ashamed. It might make them feel angry because they feel like they're being criticized or blamed for something. So I'm going to say something like, okay, Shelly, you chose the smaller object. This is smaller. Okay, let's try again. This one's bigger. Can you show me the bigger object? She's looking at it. She might even try touching it on her own. Okay, so then I introduce again the smaller one. Okay, here's the smaller object. Here's the bigger object. Okay, which one of these is the bigger object? All right, so what I did instead that time, excuse me, is instead of asking her for the smaller one, I asked her for the bigger one because I came back and retaught the concept that this is bigger. And so it was in her head. She was able to answer that question. So here we go. Let's try it again. Shelly, which one of these is smaller? She's still trying to decide. Okay, she's following the smaller object. It doesn't matter if you ask them 5 times and they are mistaken on these two, all 5 times or 10 times, because it gives you the opportunity to reteach which one's smaller and which one's bigger. Right now, I wouldn't use these 2 small ones with the students because unless they're really able to notice the difference, this could be blurry to our students. But this is just an idea of something that you could use or that I could use in the classroom later on to teach bigger and smaller again, so they can notice that something that's even little can still be bigger than something that's even littler. Okay, so that's just an example of something to do in the future. But then we're going to go back to this. Don't go back unless you really need to, but hey, Shelly, which one of these objects is smaller? Can you show me the smaller one? Okay, so she did. And that's like thinking, okay, we've done this for a week or 2, and this is really easy for her now. She can tell the difference between these because there's a definite difference there, okay? Let's say that she's had a difficult time trying to figure out the difference between the 2 books because to her, books are her favorite thing. So all she wants to do is focus on the fact that I've got books in front of her and she wants me to read them to her. But I'll show her. Okay, so let's say that she's looking at the book and she grabs the one that has some of her favorite things. Like she really wants to hold it in her hand, put it up to her face. So I'll let her hold it for a little bit. Okay. She might want to look at the pictures. Yeah, that's